we're getting ready to fall into some hard times here, so I thought I'd want to show you around and explain what's going on. I think this is an important video because I get a lot of people saying the same thing all the time, and it's wrong. And I don't mean to be rude, it's just wrong. And I was talking to Carolyn about it. She said, well, I used to think the same thing. But one of the things I hear a lot is they have a well and they insulate the well, and then it freezes. I actually saw a YouTube channel do this. It freezes, and then they can't figure out why it froze because they have insulation. Because insulation doesn't warm. Insulation is a blanket. It helps hold the heat in, but it doesn't actually heat. Your house is insulated. Ours is insulated a lot, but we still have to heat it. So we have a IBC tank in here. I don't want to open it up too much, but we have it insulated with styrofoam all the way around. And every time I make a video similar to this one, somebody will tell me how to do this better. And I'm sorry to say, you're wrong. I have not heard out of the thousands of comments that I've gotten anything that would be better. How to keep this warm. People told me to put it in the attic. I can't put 2,000 pounds in the attic. It'll fall down. I've heard people tell me to put coiling copper tubing around the chimney of my wood stove. What will happen, the chimney will heat up that water in the copper tubing. It will start circulating the water all by itself because heat rises. It'll go up the copper tubing down into here. Well, that's fine, except we don't run our wood stove all day long. We run our wood stove for about 2 hours, and then it shuts down, keeps the house warm. So the copper tubing would freeze up. Next time we turn on the wood stove, it would explode because the water's frozen. I've heard all kinds of things of what I should do. What we have here is absolutely the best method. I mean, there's just nothing better. I don't want to brag, but I put a lot of time and effort trying to figure this out, making this work. We have this box. It sits up against the house. There's 275 gallon IBC tank in there, and we fill it up. Well, every sunny day we fill it up. I just filled it up this morning. Down there where the plumbing is, we have an RV pump. It pumps water into our house. So we fill the tank with the well. Now this year we'll be able to do it with solar panels. Last year we were only able to fill pretty much with the generator. When it gets cold, I got to figure out how to keep this thing warm. First things first, we've never had the tank freeze. The 275 gallons has never frozen. The water pump has, the RV pump has, the hose going into the house has, but the tank hasn't. So before we get into that conversation, there's no reason to fix something if it's not broke. The tank is not broke. So let's move on from there. So I have to figure out how to keep the RV pump and the hose, the plumbing, let's just call it plumbing, from freezing in the wintertime. So what I've devised here, I have ventilation right here, right above the shower. So this ventilation, I've got a little fan that goes into it. That fan blows hot, warm air into the ventilation and down into the tank. Now the hose that comes into the house with the RV pump right there is inside that ventilation. The hose comes outside the ventilation once it's inside the house. So the RV pump, the hose, all the way right up to the IBC tank is wrapped in that ventilation, that insulated ventilation. I just turned the fan on last night. Got down to 23 degrees. I thought, well, I better go ahead and turn it on because the tank itself holds temperature pretty good. When I fill the tank, I'm filling the tank with water that's probably in the 50s, somewhere in the 50s, because it comes out of the well. So that water heats up the box. And so far all winter we have not had to turn that fan on. It's the first winter that we've waited this long. Usually I turn it on probably in November time frame, but it's just been a really warm winter. So last night it got a little chilly, so I went ahead and turned that fan on. The thing is with the fan, I'm not really sure. I was just asking Carolyn this just a minute ago. Carolyn actually engineered how to hook this fan into the insulation. She used an ice cream bucket. She's got a hole in the bottom of it. So, and we do things like that all the time, where we just take things around the house, coffee cans and whatever, and we make stuff with it instead of going out and buying, you know, whatever to make things work. The problem with that is I know it absolutely hurts my channel. Instead of people looking at my channel and saying, wow, that was pretty ingenuitive, he took a thing that he had laying around the house and built something out of it and didn't have to spend a dime. You would think people would think that way, but they don't. They think, oh man, this guy's unorganized and nasty and junky and whatever the words you want to use. So now when we turn the water on, so we have the water spigot thingy here, turn it on. That turns on the water heater. So now we have hot water because that water comes into the hose through here, kicks on the water heater. So if I wanted to run a garden hose instead of from the tank, from the well to here, I could do the same thing. Just disconnect this hose, run a hose from the well, and run it through the water heater. I still have hot water. So when it gets really cold outside, the hose or the RV pump freezes. So last night, it got the tank, the RV pump, I got a little thermometer out there, got down to 38 degrees. So 23 degrees, 38 degrees, I mean, it's not a huge swing. Our ventilation doesn't give it a huge swing. Remember, the house, we only get it about up to 80 degrees. Up there above the shower where the ventilation is, it gets up to about 90 degrees. So we're not throwing a ton of heat out there. So once it gets down into the ventilation, down there by the RV pump, the heat is about 40 degrees. I could try to throw more heat down in there and do all kinds of things. I've thought about putting a buddy heater in there. So last year, the first year we froze right away, but the last year we froze at -6 degrees. And I thought, man, that is fantastic. Now, there were subscribers who thought, oh my goodness, that's terrible. You need to do this and that and this and that. And it aggravates me for two reasons. One, I lived in an actual house. Carolyn lived in a mobile home. I lived in an actual house. Plumbing in both of those homes froze up every year. Every year. I had electric. I used to wrap heat tape, you know, the electric heat tape around. I'd put insulation around it. It would freeze up. I lived there for 10 years. The only time it didn't freeze was that last year. I finally had figured it out. Here we live in an actual house and it froze. Mobile homes, they freeze. And usually they freeze at a lot higher temperatures than -6. We went down to -6. And I'm sitting here thinking, let me understand this. The people who are commenting probably live in a home that has plumbing that freezes every year, telling me, oh, you need to do it this way. I watched a channel one time, and he was converting from being a troll channel to a respectable channel. So he was making his transition video, and he was driving down the road, and he said, now, we make fun of these people that we troll all the time for doing the same things we do. So he runs a stop sign. He says, see, right there. If I was trolling a nomad, I would have been all over him for running that stop sign. But I do it perfectly fine. And that's what I think is happening with my water. These trolls come in. I don't even know if I want to call them trolls. I don't know what they are. They come in telling me how to do things better because I'm stupid and they're smart. All the while they're living without water because it's frozen. Now, the other situation I have is I have the well. The well cannot freeze. I've explained this many times, but I'm going to explain it again for the new folks. The well has a black pipe that goes down 100 and let's just call it 100 feet. And at 70 feet, I've drilled a small hole, but maybe a little smaller than my pinky, into the side of that black pipe. So every time you shut it off, the water shoots back down into the well. So if I turn it on, water will not shoot out right away. It'll take several seconds for that water to travel the 100 feet to come back up here. Now, I lose a little bit of flow, obviously, because water's always shooting out of that no matter what, but I don't need a lot of flow. As a matter of fact, the recovery rate on my well is only 5 gallons a minute, and I got a 15 gallon a minute pump. I was gonna turn it on for you to demonstrate how it worked, but it kind of clouded up, so I don't think I'm gonna do that. I don't wanna run it on batteries. It'll suck back in as soon as you shut off the well. So that never freezes. The worst I've ever was this right here, the nozzle froze, which wasn't a big deal. All it did was take the torch, heat it up a little bit, thawed right out. I was able to turn the knob. Once the knob turns, you know it's thawed out. Now last year I had a little bit of trouble because I was running that generator. Oh, it was terrible. This generator was on its last leg, so it wouldn't run the well anymore. But the dual fuel propane generator, gasoline generator, dual fuel, it wouldn't start. It just would not pull. It was terrible. So we had to bring it into the house to pull it so I could get it to loosen up. And now I finally got it to run. But in the meantime, everything's freezing up. I've got the hoses connected. I've got the filters connected. I'm going to run it into the IBC tank. It's negative. No, I guess we weren't running an IBC tank. I think we were just going to fill buckets. That's what it was. So everything's hooked up, and I'm trying to get the generator to start. It wouldn't start. So everything froze while I'm trying to start the generator. So this year, things will be a lot better. Since we're on solar panels, I don't have to worry about everything freezing up. So now all I got to do is go down, turn on the inverter, come up here, hook up the hoses, and now I've even got a little switch that all I got to do is turn on the switch, water starts flowing. I don't have to worry about generators, my point. That being said, if it's a cloudy day, and there's going to be one day where it's cloudy, I may have to run the generator. So I got that little 1500 watt generator down there. What I do there, it's a little hard to explain, is I don't actually run the well off of it. I turn on battery chargers. I got 2 battery chargers. I turn one on 25 amps and the other one at 10 amps. And they start charging the battery. They work like the solar panels, basically. They're charging the battery. Then I turn on the inverter, and the inverter runs the well. If for some reason that generator doesn't run, then I'll take this generator, the dual fuel generator. I'll take it inside, let it warm up. That's what I did last year. And 15 minutes, this thing will be warmed up. But I won't do anything until everything's up and running. I'm not going to have all that stuff freeze. Right now, I take the filters inside. I got those 2 house filters. I take those inside after every time I fill so they don't freeze up. We're going to get down to -9 degrees, and I think we're actually going to get colder than that. But on Sunday night, it's going to get down to -9 degrees. I'm stressing how we're going to keep the water from freezing and all this stuff. So Carolyn said, well, let's just anticipate that it's going to freeze. Then we're not even going to control it. She says on Saturday, let's just shut everything down. So on Saturday, I'm going to show you how to shut everything down. I'm going to open up the box, and I will pump the water out of the RV pump. I have it in such a manner now that we have a hose running down to the camper also. So the RV pump pumps water down to the, as a matter of fact, here's the hose. And so what I have is I have a little V connection. So water goes into the house, or water can go down to the camper. So I'm going to disconnect the camper. Carolyn said, let's just go ahead and disconnect it for the rest of the winter. And then I'll just drain the hoses. I'll pump the water out of the RV pump. That's not hard to do. I'll just turn it on and let it pump out. I used to do that when we were hooked up to the camper down there. All I have to do to make that work is there's a shut-off valve to the IBC tank. I just shut that valve off and I pump the water out of it. It's not so bad that here. The thing is that when it gets down to the negative temperatures and we freeze up, that's not the worst part. It only gets down in those negative temperatures for a couple of days. The problem is it never gets warm enough afterwards to thaw it all out. If I can keep it from freezing in the first place, as soon as we get above those negative temperatures, I can just turn the pump back on. So that way we don't have to go a week or 2 without water. Now, when I say without water, I mean from the tank, where it's convenient. We can still carry buckets in, and we'll just have those in the house on standby. The other thing I can do is I can run these hoses from the well into the water heater. I showed you earlier, I can just unscrew that one hose. I can screw the well hose into the water heater, turn on the well, and let it run. Just have to be careful that we don't shut off the water in the house. We have to come out here and shut it off. So if we wanted to take a shower, we can still take a shower. If we wanted to do laundry, we can still do laundry. All we got to do is do it from the well. It's really not that difficult to set up. We just got to run a hose through the window. Not a big deal. The point is there are a lot of people who try to overcomplicate the ideas, and they end up spending a ton of money trying to figure it all out. If you can provide a heat source to your water system and insulate it, that's all you really got to do. But if you're trying to run copper tubing The problem is where is the failure points? Where's the weak spots? I didn't care about the IBC tank freezing. When I set this whole thing up, I didn't care about it. Still don't care about it. I just want to make sure that I got water. And what the funny thing is those trolls who are going to tell me, oh no, you need to do it this way, while they're froze. I still have water. All these people who live in mobile homes and old houses telling me how to fix it. I still have water because of the well. When I set this well up, I was told that I couldn't set it up this way. It has to have a pressure tank. They said you have to have a pressure tank. Well, I knew you didn't have to have a pressure tank. And the reason I don't want a pressure tank is the pressure tank can freeze. So if you can click the next box, it'll take you to a video where I was talking about it's where I was talking about. You may not be able to watch videos much longer. So I hope I can inspire you to think simple so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.